ladies. This has been attempt on my life. Bro, what is up? What's up? Oh, this shit is and cool, and it works. I like it. I hope the lighting isn't terrible. Guess we'll see. Can I probably can. It's a little crazy, but maybe at 5%. Okay. Oh, there we go. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. The sharpness. What's 0? Oh. Zero. And then we can do boom. Is that bad? That's pretty bad. We'll leave it there. Let's get started talking. I'm so sleepy. I need to wake my voice up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Recess puff, recess puff. Oh boy. That was the framing. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe a little too much, maybe. Come on. Oh, beep, 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 beep. Beep, beep, bam, bam. I like it pointing down, but whatever. We ready? Are we ready to roll?
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In a social media post, President Trump said this morning he's instructed the Pentagon to postpone all airstrikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, claiming on Truth Social that Iran and the U.S. have had, quote, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East, unquote. This comes after Trump warned Saturday night he would obliterate Iranian power plants if the Strait of Hormuz was not fully opened within 48 hours. Iran responded by warning it would destroy essential infrastructure, including water systems across the region, if Trump followed through on his threat. In Israel, nearly 200 people were injured by Iranian strikes on Dimona, home to Israel's main nuclear facility, and the nearby city of Arad Saturday after Israeli air defenses failed to intercept at least 2 ballistic missiles. Iranian state media said the missiles were fired in retaliation for an Israeli attack on an Iranian nuclear facility in Natanz. Iran also launched two 4,000-kilometer range ballistic missiles at the joint U.S.-British military base on the Indian Ocean island of Diego Garcia Saturday. According to the Israeli military, it was the first time Iran had used long-range missiles in the conflict. The Israeli military said Monday it had begun strikes targeting infrastructure in Tehran. Iran, meanwhile, vowed to lay sea mines to block the entire Persian Gulf if its coasts or islands are attacked. This comes as the International Energy Agency announced earlier this month it's releasing 400 million barrels of crude oil, the largest in its history, in order to stabilize global oil prices. On Sunday, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tried to clarify President Trump's shifting messages on the war in an interview with NBC's Meet the Press.
Just to put a fine point on this, though, is the president in the process of winding down this war or escalating the conflict?
Again, they're not mutually exclusive. Sometimes you have to escalate to de-escalate.
Saudi Arabia has ordered Iran's military attaché and 4 embassy staff members to leave the kingdom within 24 hours. The Saudi Foreign Ministry declared the 5 officials persona non grata, citing what it called repeated Iranian attacks on Saudi territory. The move follows an Iranian drone strike on the Red Sea port of Yanbu, Saudi Arabia's only remaining oil export outlet after Iran blocked the Strait of Hormuz. This comes as the Trump administration's advancing more than $23 billion in weapon sales to the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Jordan without congressional approval. In Lebanon, Israel struck a main bridge linking the south to the rest of Lebanon Sunday. The Israeli military has ordered its troops to destroy all crossings over the Litani River and step up the demolition of homes near the southern border. This comes as Lebanese healthcare workers are accusing Israel of deliberately targeting medical workers in facilities in southern Lebanon. Israel struck at least 128 medical facilities and ambulances across southern Lebanon, killing 40 healthcare workers, according to the Lebanese health ministry. Since Israel's war in Lebanon began March 2nd, more than 1 million people have been forced to flee their homes. Over 1,000 people have been killed in Israeli attacks. This is a displaced Lebanese man in the capital, Beirut.
Last night was difficult. Like every night we have here, as soon as it rains, the tents get flooded and the covers get soaked, and we have extreme struggle. Last week, there were 2 storms, and this storm continues for 10 days.
In Gaza, an Israeli airstrike on a police vehicle Sunday killed 3 Palestinians in the Nuseirat refugee camp. Another Palestinian was killed in a separate airstrike on northern Gaza. Meanwhile, in the occupied West Bank, Israeli settlers carried out a series of attacks, setting homes and vehicles on fire and wounding several Palestinians over the weekend. On Saturday, Israeli settlers carried out overnight attacks in at least 6 communities. On Sunday, at least 10 Palestinians were injured in attacks by Israeli settlers in 4 villages near Nablus. According to the United Nations, Israeli forces and settlers have killed more than 1,000 Palestinians in the West Bank since October of 2023. In Britain, 4 ambulances belonging to a Jewish volunteer organization known as Hatzalah in London were torched early Monday in what British Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned as a, quote, deeply shocking anti-Semitic arson attack, unquote. Security camera footage obtained by CNN shows 3 people wearing masks in all black approaching an ambulance belonging to the Hatzalah Northwest and setting the vehicle on fire. The northern suburb of Golders Green has a large Jewish community, home to several synagogues, dozens of Jewish schools, and other institutions. The flames caused an explosion that shattered windows in nearby buildings. No injuries were reported. In Sudan, at least 64 people were killed, including over a dozen children, in a strike on a hospital in East Darfur Friday. The World Health Organization said some 89 people were...
I think that is, if there's an attack on a Jewish area and people die, if people die, it was definitely Israel. If people don't die, it was like an actual anti-Semitic. Oh, I don't know. Maybe not anti-Semitic, but like anti-Israel. You know what I mean?
Also injured and at the hospital will no longer operate. The paramilitary rapid support forces blame the attack on Sudan's military, which the army denies. But the Associated Press reports 2 Sudanese military officials said the strike had originally targeted a police station in the region. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, condemned the frequent attacks on medical facilities since Sudan's war broke out nearly 3 years ago. He wrote on social media, quote, enough blood has been spilled. Healthcare should never be a target. Peace is the best medicine, unquote. In Cuba, authorities have
Sudan.
partially restored electricity after more than 10 million people lost power to their homes and businesses Saturday following another collapse of Cuba's national power grid. It was the second time in a week and the third time this month Cuba suffered a major blackout as the Trump administration's oil blockade worsens Cuba's humanitarian crisis. Critics have condemned the blockade as economic warfare. This is Havana resident Leonie Alberto, who's been forced to cook with firewood during the blackouts.
Life doesn't change. Ultimately, we're stuck in the same rut. We aren't going to move forward. We're just going to stay right here at a standstill. Twice a week, cooking with firewood. It's absolute madness. There's no other way around it. It's just the hand we've been dealt. A solution is unlikely. We've been stuck in the same situation for 60 years. It is not going to change.
Meanwhile, hundreds of
look at his face. He's like, what else am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? He's like, shit has been happening for fucking 60 years. Just another weekend fuckery by your bullshit government.
There's no other way around it. It's just the hand we've been dealt. A solution is unlikely. We've been stuck in the same situation for 60 years. It is not going to change.
Meanwhile, hundreds of delegates from 33 countries and 120 organizations have arrived in Cuba aboard ships carrying humanitarian goods from Mexico. The Nuestra America flotilla brought the food, medicine, solar panels, and other supplies as a direct challenge to the U.S. embargo of Cuba. Here in New York, a pilot and co-pilot were killed while 40 passengers and crew were injured late Sunday when an Air Canada Express plane collided while landing with a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport. It's the latest in a series of airline disasters under President Trump's second term, including a January 2025 collision near Ronald Reagan National Airport that killed 67 people. Sunday's disaster prompted LaGuardia to shut down until Monday afternoon, at least until 2 p.m. Eastern. More than 400 flights have been canceled. Those disruptions added to travel chaos tied to the partial government shutdown affecting the Department of Homeland Security, which has forced tens of thousands of Transportation Security Administration workers, TSA workers, to go without pay, leading to resignations and high rates of sick leave. On Sunday, President Trump's so-called border czar, Tom Homan, confirmed plans to deploy ICE agents, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents at 14 airports to ease, he said, long security lines. The move comes as Senate Republicans Saturday blocked a Democratic bill seeking to pay TSA workers during the partial shutdown while negotiations to fund DHS continue. In Paterson, New Jersey, city leaders joined family and friends Sunday as they welcomed Palestinian activist Laka Cordia home after more than a year in a Texas ICE jail. Cordia was arrested during the 2024 Gaza Solidarity protests at Columbia University on charges that were later dropped. Soon after, she was detained by ICE during a routine immigration check-in in New Jersey. While in custody, Cordia was hospitalized following a seizure. Her legal team said her legs were chained to her bed and she was denied access to her lawyer or family. Laka Cordia spoke to supporters at Paterson City Hall.
It's been a long year and tough year in ICE dungeons. But I'm finally free, alhamdulillah. But still... But still, my battle's not done yet. My battle to gain my freedom is done. It's not finished over yet. This is just the first step.
A federal judge has blocked the Pentagon's press policy, requiring media outlets to pledge not to gather information unless Pentagon officials formally authorize its release. On Friday, U.S. District Judge Paul Friedman in Washington, D.C., sided with the New York Times, which challenged the policy. Judge Friedman wrote, quote, "Those who drafted the First Amendment believe the nation's security requires a free press and an informed people, and that such security is endangered by governmental suppression of political speech. That principle has preserved the nation's security for almost 250 years. It must..."
Yeah. One of the worst things about freedom of speech is that you have the freedom to lie your fucking ass off. You know what I mean? You could report on the biggest news outlet in the US. You can report the craziest, most unhinged lie. And it's completely legal. You can do that in this great country with free speech. You know what I mean? Don't try to take that away from us, Donald Trump. What do you mean?
Not be abandoned now, he said. In more media news, attorneys general from 8 states have asked a federal judge to halt a $3.5 billion merger between Nexstar Media Group and Tegna, 2 of the largest local broadcast station owners in the U.S. The Trump administration approved the merger Thursday after the FCC waived rules limiting any company from owning stations that, taken together, reach more than 39% of U.S. households. The merger was approved after Nexstar aligned itself with the Trump administration by temporarily pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air across its 28 ABC affiliates after FCC Chair Brendan Carr threatened to revoke the licenses of broadcasters airing Kimmel. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller has died at the age of 81. He'd led the Bureau for 12 years under Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama. In 2017, Mueller was named special prosecutor investigation of allegations that Russia conspired to influence the outcome of the 2016 election. That prompted the wrath of President Trump, who called the investigation a witch hunt, a hoax, and a treasonous attack, unquote. On Saturday, Trump celebrated Mueller's death, writing on his social media platform, quote, "Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people," Trump wrote. In Slovenia, official results show ruling Liberals and opposition right-wing candidates in a near tie after Sunday's parliamentary vote. None of the main parties looked likely to secure a majority in the 90-member parliament. The Slovenian Prime Minister, Robert Golob, of the center-left Freedom Movement, warned Slovenia's democracy and sovereignty cannot be taken for granted. The opposition figure and former Slovenian Prime Minister Janez Janša, who leads the conservative Slovenian Democratic Party, faced controversy in recent months after he reportedly met with the Israeli spy firm Black Cube, prompting allegations of election interference. Meanwhile, in France, left-wing parties and allies held on to power in Paris, Marseille, Lyon, and Lille as local elections were held Sunday. Socialist Emmanuel Grégoire was elected as the mayor of Paris. Meanwhile, the far-right National Rally made some gains in smaller towns in France's rural areas. France is holding presidential elections next year. And in Chile, thousands of people took to the streets of Santiago Sunday to protest incoming President José Antonio Cast's environmental rollback since taking office earlier this month. Cast's government halted over 40 environmental protections that had been drafted during the previous administration of leftist Gabriel Boric. Protesters marched to La Moneda, Chile's presidential palace, to mark World Water Day.
I think we cannot continue living under a government that believes everything contrary to business and industry interests is an ideology. So I think we need to take to the streets, demonstrate, and fight for environmental rights, animal rights, and people's rights.
Cast is the most right-wing president elected in Chile since the U.S.-backed Pinochet military dictatorship. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York with Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez, not in Chicago today, but right next to me here in New York. It's wonderful to be sitting next to you, Juan.
Yes, Amy, and it's been now 6 years since I walked in the doors of our studio here, since before the COVID pandemic. It's great to see everyone in person, in the flesh, rather than just over the internet or by phone. So it's great to be here.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism...
All right, I guess we can go down the list. Maybe we'll watch... I need to structure these streams better. I don't know. I wanted to hear this out too.
Talk to us about the effects of higher crude prices, because you make a lot of oil, but you also buy a lot of crude products.
Right, Danny, thank you for having us this morning. Absolutely. Mexico is more a manufacturer exporter than an energy exporter, as you were precisely saying. So we have a relatively balanced effect on...
So U.S. crude imports. So Mexico only imports 640,000 barrels? Damn, Canada? That's 3 million, right?
On our domestic and fiscal front, we are exporters of oil, but we also import quite a bit of energy. But in the balance, we have a net almost neutral effect on our fiscal side. And for us, that is very important because we're always watchful of what investors, markets, and rating agencies have to say. So we are estimating that we are going to be able to more or less offset and to accommodate the impact on our fiscal side and also for the consumer. We have a stimulus package for domestic consumers, so not every increase in energy prices at the international markets would be passed through domestic consumers. So I think the quick answer for you would be that we would have a relatively neutral and balanced effect from our domestic and fiscal.
Minister, is there a price or a level or a duration at which oil needs to stay elevated or higher, at which that changes and you need to rethink energy strategies?
Well, it's not only level, but also the duration, Danny, of this impact. We believe that what futures markets are telling us is that this will be relatively short-lived, and it will be temporary, and we should be able to accommodate both the fiscal, the price, and the economic effects. We would be more concerned if this turns out to be more prolonged and the effects on prices would be more long-lasting. But at this current level of oil prices and energy, I think for the moment we would have a close to neutral effect on our fiscal balances and our economy.
I wonder the effect of the drop in the currency. The peso has dropped an extraordinary amount against the dollar. Does that give you a tailwind in terms of economic growth? And I know that you're trying to pass an infrastructure bill right now also to stimulate growth.
Well, the peso has been one of the most, one of the gainers in the currency market for the last 12 months. So what we have seen recently under this energy price situation is a relatively modest pullback from what we've seen over the last 12 months. So we are, content where the peso is trading. It's a free float regime for our currency, which is one of the most liquids in the emerging market concern. So overall, over the last 12 months, the peso has been performing very well. And I think what we are seeing is the currency market accommodating the shocks in the energy and financial markets. Sure, we have seen some volatility on our currency front as of late, but over the last 12 months, the peso has been doing okay. And we believe that this framework, which also is accompanied by relatively stable performance on the interest rate market, or bond markets have sold a little bit in over the last couple of weeks, but it's down markedly from last year. So I think this mix that we are facing, we're facing a relatively stable currency and bond markets compared to other economies, right. Fit well for our investment strategy in infrastructure.
Minister, we also have talks for USMCA's preliminary review ongoing in Washington, D.C. this week. Are you confident that it will be extended?
Yes, we are. The teams have begun talks in Washington, D.C., and if you take a look at Mexico's trade balance with the United States over last year, we became the United States' largest trading partner, both on the export front and the import front. Mexico increased its market share in the United States.
Hello, everybody. This is Mick Foley, the hardcore legend, and this is an earnest and honest attempt to talk to Republicans and independents who are not so far gone that they can still think for themselves. Now, if you're one of those people, like a close relative of mine, who certainly seem to feel like Alex Preddy and Renee Good deserve to die, then I'm not talking to you. Thank you for your support, and you can just watch it and leave a mean comment or get out of the conversation now. What I'm talking about is appealing to good-hearted, sensible people who cannot believe that the way immigrants are treated in this country is correct. Now, I was listening to a TV station where they talked about how 65% of Americans think ICE has gone too far, and they thought that was good for America, where I was left thinking, wait, 35% of the American public is for this? I'm sorry, but I cannot believe that. I refuse to believe it. I refuse to believe that 3.5 out of every 10 Americans I meet would be in favor of our fellow human beings, our brothers and sisters, being treated in such an inhumane fashion. I refuse to believe it, because if 3.5 out of 10 people I meet are for that, that means far more than 3.5 out of 10 who are not people of color are for it, and even more males. This is just me in my head doing the math. And that means like, no, we're all better than this. I'm not saying this in a condescending fashion. I'm saying I know because I spent time with you. When I say that, I mean, I spent 15 years riding the roads with a variety of different wrestling friends and travel partners, one of whom I would consider to be very progressive. That would be Jim Cornette. The others, not going to make anybody's list of progressives and definitely going to lean conservative, independent to conservative. I never had any problems with a single one of them. We had discussions, not arguments. I know it because when I was struggling, you were the people who let me stay in your spare room or on your couch because I didn't have money for a motel. You were the people, the guy who may have been wearing a MAGA hat, gladly giving me instructions when my GPS wasn't working. You are the people who smile with joy when I bounced your children on my knee as Santa Claus.
Because you're
and when
white.
you take the photos and you hug your children at my appearances in small towns across this country. And I've worked in every single state, red, blue, and purple, and I've felt the love everywhere I've been. And I just refuse to believe that these people who treat me with such kindness would turn a blind eye to the cruelty that this administration is inflicting on others. There was a quote I saw.
That's because they've been, I don't want to say brainwashed, but brainwashed into thinking that immigrants are not people. That is the playbook throughout years that these our leaders, they'll tell us the worst things about whoever it is we're trying to get rid of or whoever it is we're trying to make the enemy. They'll minimize them so hard. They'll just dehumanize this person or this group of people. And then, you know, they succeed. People are dumb as balls. You can convince an entire nation that a small group of people is the cause of your problems. It's happened before, and it didn't just happen, you know, in the 40s with World War II. It happens in wars too. That's how they get soldiers to do these horrendous things. They dehumanize the enemy.
A friend of mine asked me if I wanted to put out there, and I said, hold on, I think I can do better with a video message. And the quote said, it's okay to admit you were for something and no longer are. It's okay to say that you like something in principle, but not in its execution. And then it went on to say the best time to speak up would have been earlier. The second best time to speak up is now. Because years from now, when there is nothing to lose, we will all have been against this. But the time to speak up and state your case is now. Many people might not believe this, but I firmly believe the United States of America is better than this. America is better than zip tying senior citizens. America is better than chasing down agricultural workers or abducting day laborers at Home Depot. America is better than using children for bait.
Agents made Liam knock on the door, asking to let them in order to see if anyone else was home.
We are better than this. We are better than inflicting terror on a wide swath of this public based only on the language they speak and the color of their skin. And I think that many of you believe we're better than this too. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll be devastated because I will have completely lost faith in the United States of America and its people. But you can make a difference by just speaking truth to power.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper.
Donald Trump reads the polls. 35% is bad. It's not as bad as the 10% that I think is more accurate. Please make a difference by using your voice. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.
Isn't it crazy? Oh, fuck. Isn't it crazy how Mick Foley got his ass kicked for years?
Hello, everybody.
Let me restart that. Bro, how do I stop this shit from auto playing? Could have sworn the option was somewhere here.
Asking to let them in order to see if anyone else was home.
We are better than this. We are better in inflicting terror on a wide swath of this public based only on the language they speak and the color of their skin. And I think that many of you believe we're better than this too. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll be devastated because I will have completely lost faith in the United States of America and its people. But you can make a difference by just speaking truth to power.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper.
Donald Trump reads the polls. 35% is bad. It's not as bad as the 10% that I think is more accurate. Please make a difference by using your voice. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.
What a goat. Mick Foley got his ass kicked for years. One of the most famous clips that I've seen of him is when Undertaker threw his ass from the fucking, what is the Hell in the Cell? Bro got hit so many times and he's still not crazy. That is admirable. I kind of want to watch a highlight now. The GOAT. Also, if you want to understand, maybe I should full screen for this. Where am I? Goodness. I never care about my hair till now because it looks stupid as fuck. What are you doing? Do this. I'm getting irritated because of this thing. Anyway, also, if you want to understand a little bit how these people or the system gets either soldiers or civilians to not see the other as humans, I recommend this bad boy. I recommend this bad boy. And I'm still reading, but holy shit. These 3 books, I know they're kind of everywhere, but at the end of the day, they have like, they really show how it is that a leader can make people believe through the news, through propaganda, how they can make people believe that small groups aren't human or they don't see them as people. recommend those 3 books. The GOAT, McFo.
When you ask diplomats and military experts how this war is going to end, many will take you back to
how the U.S. underestimated Iran.
The situation that existed before the war started, and how the two sides seriously misunderstood each other. Consider Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, who led Iran for 37 years. One of the few Americans who met him face-to-face is former U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon Jeffrey Feltman, who was serving in 2012 as a United Nations official.
It was a surreal experience being in that room with the Supreme Leader. A couple of things struck me. One was, this guy's got no charisma. His delivery was flat, banal. I understood that he was completely animated by anti-American animosity, and that came out in spades. We understood that anti-American animosity. He didn't understand us. For example, he cited the Occupy Wall Street movement, which had ended 8 months earlier, an eternity in U.S. politics, as evidence that the U.S. was on the verge of collapse.
However mistaken was Khamenei's assessment of the United States, there were also serious miscalculations about this war on the American side. During the pre-war talks between the Iranians and U.S. negotiators Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, Witkoff spoke about Trump in an exclusive Fox News interview.
He's curious as to why they haven't, I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated.
That was an underestimation of the regime's will to fight, according to Iranian-Canadian Nazila Fathi, who served for 8 years as the New York Times correspondent in Tehran.
We're talking about a country that has hundreds of years of civilization. Its people are very proud. It has gone through a lot of invasions, a lot of wars, but still it would not react positively to terms such as surrender, capitulation.
Ayatollah Khamenei is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands.
Donald Trump seemed thrilled when Khamenei was killed on the first day of the war, but overestimated the effect that would have on the Iranian side. According to retired U.S. General Steve Anderson, who served in senior roles in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I just think of how I would react, in the United States if our president was taken out. Would I'm going to succumb. Yeah, all right, come on here, do what you want to do. No, that's going to strengthen my resolve. And they're going to be the same way. You kill my leadership, that's going to make me fight even harder.
Former Iranian ambassador Sayed Mousavian served years ago in senior positions in the Iranian government and is now in exile at Princeton University. He says Ayatollah Khamenei expected to be assassinated.
I think he expected because in June 2025, about 30, 40 very high-level officials, they were assassinated. Every Iranian high-level officials, they assume they may be assassinated. This is something they all know and they are prepared.
This dictatorship, this regime, was built on institutions that Ali Khamenei had 37 years in order to build a deep bench of loyalists, ideological hardliners who can carry on without the supreme leader.
The regime had been expecting this kind of attack to come, and it is built to survive.
On the first day of the war, Donald Trump called on the Iranian people to rise up against the regime.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
Trump was obviously thinking of the massive anti-regime demonstrations that occurred in January. Demonstrations that were viciously put down by the Republican Guard and pro-regime militias, who killed an estimated 30,000 protesters.
The Iranian regime...
Okay, we're still fucking saying 30,000. I thought fucking Breakthrough was legit, bro. What the fuck? Oh, this is CBS. Ooh. Fuck these guys. Where are we? Fuck you. Alright, let's see what the fuck Fox News is saying.
Five
Let's see
weeks without
the
pay thanks to the
unhinged
Democrats'
shit.
shutdown of DHS. But tomorrow, help may be on the way.
Why is it fucking bothering?
We're going to send ICE agents to the airport to help alleviate not only the TSA officers who are overwhelmed and understaffed now because many of them left, but we're going to help the American people transit through the airport quicker and not be held hostage by this foolish shutdown that the Democrats started.
President Trump made the announcement that tomorrow ICE agents will be assisting TSA at airports, which couldn't come at a more crucial time, as more than 400 TSA agents have left the workforce, probably to look for other work. Madison Scarpino is live at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta with the latest. Madison, what you got?
God damn.
Hey, Joey. Well, it has been a mess here all day long. Passengers have been waiting in line for hours to make their flights as TSA workers are still getting $0 paychecks. But I want to give our viewers the perspective of a traveler. So I met a friend named Rich. Rich, if you can tell everyone how long you've been waiting in line, were you expecting this?
Who's willing to talk to Fox News?
Madison. Yeah, I was kind of expecting that. I've been in line now for about an hour and 45 minutes. Probably got an hour more to go. And I've been tracking it for the last several days. No, I'm on my way to Las Vegas. So I think I'm pretty well getting close to the end zone over here, so I think we're good.
And you told me earlier enough time to get a meal and a cocktail.
Yeah, enough time to get in there and sit down and get me a nice meal, a nice cocktail. After all this, yeah, it gets a little stressful, but
it would be much deserved. And this is all happening, of course, because TSA workers are not getting paid. President Trump says that he's going to be sending in ICE agents starting tomorrow to airports to help hopefully alleviate some of these lines, some of this mess. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought they're too late. And I'm just really disappointed on both sides of the aisle that people that live paycheck to paycheck, they're not getting paid, and finally we're going to send ICE in to make it happen, to kind of relieve some of the stress that everybody goes through. So yeah, it's not a good situation.
Well, thank you for your time, Rich. Hopefully everything goes okay with your flight.
That's crazy.
Hoping that for everyone flying in the next few days. I'll send it back to you guys.
They're sending ICE.
All right, Madison.
To do a job they're not
feel for that guy.
Trained to do.
Reporters are Tom
They're already
Homan
trained to
sparred with
be an ICE
CNN anchor Dana
officers.
Bash today over ICE's deployment to the airports as she tried to bait him on a gotcha question. But of course, Tom Homan, that man's always prepared.
Are ICE agents even remotely trained to handle security at airports?
ICE agents receive a high level of training. And, the ICE agents are assigned at many airports across the country already. Certainly a highly trained ICE law enforcement officer can cover an exit. See an ICE agent looking at an x-ray machine because they're not trained in that. There are certain parts of security that TSA is doing that we can move them off those jobs and put them in the specialized jobs to help move those lines.
Yeah, she tried again to box him in, sounding down.
So you're trying to get at ICE. He's full of shit, by the way. You're trying to get ICE agents who are barely even trained to be ICE agents to go and do security, to be TSA officers or whatever the fuck. What exactly are they going to do? Are they going to do the job that TSA was doing? Are they going to be stopping people and asking for their papers? What kind of shit is that? Who do you think they're going to stop? Not people that look like him. Isn't that crazy? Am I tripping?
Doubtful that ICE could possibly be prepared for such a heavy task.
With respect, if you're doing this in 24 hours, how well thought out could it possibly be?
With disrespect.
Again, ICE has been at airports across the country for a long time. It's just expanding those things. Look, how much of a plan does it mean to guard an exit to make sure no one comes through that exit? We're talking about security options, and these officers are well trained in security, and they're well trained in identification. And look, we're going to do what we can to help TSA move those people through the line.
Tommy, I'm coming to you on this. Listen, I watched that whole interview. I sent it to you guys. We have to use this because even all of that wasn't taken out of context, but you could have made those clips twice as long and laughed twice as much because she tried to say building the plane while flying it, and she came up with words I've never heard to use. Like, she was so outside of her league trying to question this man. And it all comes down to, he said explicitly, hey, listen, they're going to guard exits to make sure people don't come in the exit.
They got a little
may
cute-ass
look
ears.
at the ID and make sure it matches the ticket. They're not going to run x-ray machines.
Well, the thought, could a law enforcement agency run security? Methinks, Joey, that's not too big of a stretch. And I love this idea, by the way. I wish they were going to be there. As I'm trying to fly home back to Tennessee tonight, I wish we had some ICE agents there. I think this is great for other reasons as well. The mainstream media, including CNN, they have done their best to make boogeymen out of the ICE men and women that are doing this job every day. So I think if your everyday American has
do these people know that fuck CNN too? Like, I don't know if they understand that most people, sane people, not complete baboons, aren't taking what Fox News or CNN have to say. Like, they've been proven to be fucking
to
idiots.
interact with ICE agents at the airport. I think that this is going to do a lot for the interaction there. I think that's kind of maybe a community policing element of this. They get to see ICE agents helping out. It makes their lines shorter. It makes their security better. And, you know, I know Democrats are already over the airwaves today saying that it's going to make illegals nervous. I got to tell you, Joey, I'm not too concerned about that. I don't really care.
Yeah, if you're illegal and you don't want to fly because ICE is there, maybe, leave the country. Maybe take a one-way ticket, I guess.
There you go.
Kaylee, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think the point that Tommy makes about the potential PR benefit to this is great, because you can see that the purpose of Dana Bash's line of questioning is to actually sow a seed of doubt in Americans and to suggest that ICE agents might not conduct themselves professionally or might not be equipped to the task. That's how
I wonder why people would think that. Just hundreds of videos showing these fucking incompetent baboons doing their job, but I guess they're doing their job.
they are to continue to demonize ICE agents. But look, this TSA shutdown, we talked about this a lot yesterday. It's infuriating. But you know what? It really sums up the core priority of the Democratic Party, which is to actively degrade the quality of life for everyday law-abiding Americans to the benefit of illegal aliens. You know, when we watched the State of the Union and every single Democrat refused to stand up and say that they prioritized American citizens over illegal aliens, we should have believed what they meant, because this is actually, it's putting it into action right now. They are willing to make your life demonstrably worse to keep illegal aliens in this country. That is an advertisement for Republicans this November. And quite frankly, I think that President Trump should be using his bully pulpit to its full extent to drive national attention to this every single day, because it is an insult to Americans.
Jason.
You fly internationally into international airports. Guess who you're going to bump into? Immigration, customs, enforcement.
Yeah.
They already operate the scanning machines. They already do the x-rays. You don't just fly internationally and your luggage suddenly shows up without ICE looking at it. So don't tell me that they can't do the outbound if they can do the inbound. It's just totally naive.
Yeah, like why are they gonna be there for international stuff? You know what I mean? It's ICE, it's Border Patrol, or what is it? International cocksuckers.
Is not properly prepared or trained.
Yeah, I think that Dana Bash wasn't properly prepared or trained for that interview. But Tom Homan is also well experienced and very smart, so I'm happy he's on the job. All right.
Bro, these people make me fucking sick. What are you doing? Come on. Come on. I gotta take off that piss.
Moments ago, President Trump confirming progress in talks with Iran, adding, quote, "I've instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period." Meanwhile, growing concerns over Iran's missiles over the weekend, how far they can actually go after Iran launched ballistic missiles towards Diego Garcia, a U.S.-UK base in the Indian Ocean, 2,500 miles away. So now we know that we've been accusing them of this. They've denied it, and now we know their space program has produced a missile that can go 2,500 miles. So what does that mean? Let's take a look. 2,500 miles, it's the lighter lavender color. First off, what is now in target? I don't think they're going to be targeting Moscow, but it's now targeted. Obviously, all these states are going to be targeted and have been targeted. Now let's expand it a little. Look what goes 1,811 miles, 1,864 miles. You got the capitals of Rome, Munich, Paris. Of Italy, Germany, and France. Suddenly they are paying attention, I imagine. Maybe it is their fight. And, of course, in London, where they've decided to just let their military wither. And then we have Oslo and Berlin. Besides that, I think every NATO capital is now under watch. No longer speculation. You can't say America's making it up, because we just watched 2 missiles go 2,500 miles. The first one went the length, knocked down. The other one failed, but was heading that direction. What else can I tell you?
Okay, so... I hate these people so much.
The first one went the length, knocked down. The other one failed, but was heading.
So, this is Iran. They apparently have a missile that can reach this far away. You know, apparently. There's U.S. bases literally right here, and literally right here, and right here. What the fuck do you mean? I just don't. How can you gotta be a real dumb mother lover if you think that it's okay to have guns pointed at you, but as soon as you're, I don't know, capable of, I don't even, like, what's the problem? I think they're trying to make it to where they want NATO to get involved somehow. Because they're like, oh, look, they can reach you. But what's the problem? Iran doesn't want to bomb fucking NATO. They're bombing these assholes. But my thing is, we have guns pointed at Iran from here, a bunch of U.S. Bases that are like just pointing the gun at Iran. But they're trying to scare Europe into thinking like, oh, they might shoot you because you're NATO. I don't know, man. It's all backwards. Makes no goddamn sense.
In that direction. What else can I tell you? How about what the rocket looks like? I'm pretty sure this is
Like
not
a
going to bring
pencil.
any astronauts to the moon, but this is what the rocket looks like that goes that far and that long. We know they've made great progress with drones. Now we know they made great progress with missiles. What does that now mean about the danger and the imminent threat? Let's bring in retired Air Force Brigadier General
Imminent
Robert
threat.
Spalding. General, were you
The
surprised
imminent
that
threat
they
is
elected
fucking Israel.
to show what they can do with intermediate range missiles?
Absolutely not, and I'm not surprised they went after Diego Garcia. We use that as a staging base for, strikes, bomber strikes in Iran. So,
Oh my gosh. Oh. We bombed the shit out of Iran from a base and then they shot us back. So now we're mad because they shot us back.
I think they're trying to project power. Obviously, it wasn't successful. But, what that means is they can have that range. They can someday get to a longer range. And when you pair that with a nuclear weapon, it's not just Berlin, it's New York.
So we've been saying this for
The
a while.
fear-mongering,
Weapons
the
inspectors go
bullshit.
back and forth, and we hear rumors and thoughts depending on the president. We decide.
Bro, I just don't like. We're attacking them, bro, from here. We took ships and we brought them way the fuck over here to attack them. No. To here. To fucking attack them. I'm just.
To approach it differently. Does this actually give the president clarity in order to tell our allies why they need to be involved in this on some level? Why it involves them?
Well, and you can imagine why they're not doing anything. They're worried that those missiles are going to go raining down on their capitals, and they should be worried. Quite frankly, the biggest thing that I fear is that we'll cut this off before we can actually end it. And I think that's the challenge we face. Are we going to allow Iran to continue to develop nuclear weapons and continue to be the biggest state sponsor of terror and grow their missile capability?
So if you allow them to cut off the Strait of Hormuz and then say, okay, sign this document, it's over, they know at any moment they can use that.
The United States is the biggest state sponsor of terror. They are Al Qaeda, they are ISIS, they are Israel, they are ICE, they are the FBI, they are the CIA. What?
Choke point to choke us out again.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at that geographic area, the strait is really kind of reminiscent of the Battle of Vicksburg. The South was blocking shipping going down the Mississippi River. And in this case, that's what the Iranians are doing. So we're going to have to set up something like Southern Watch, but also with an emphasis on drones.
I don't know how people can watch Fox News. I get it. I got to watch the other side, but fuck, bro. It's just... It's just crazy. Trump speaking to most respected. What?
Iran's foreign ministry says you're not telling the truth when it comes to productive conversations to end the war.
Well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict. And I think it'll end it very, very substantially. We have very much in mind our partners in the Middle East. We've had great relationships with a lot of them, as you know. A lot of them were surprisingly hit. And I was surprised to see it, and so was everyone else. But we have, they're very much in mind in the discussions. So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too. We're going to get together today by probably phone because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
That's psychotic. That's fucking psychotic. Let's bet right now. Let's bet right now. I bet you Israel bombs fucking Iran today, Monday, the 23rd. I bet you Israel bombs him, and then either he's gonna be like, didn't know, who cares, or he's gonna be like, oh, fucking Israel, you motherfuckers.
Stop speaking with Mr. President.
A top person. Don't forget, we've wiped out the leadership phase 1, phase 2, and largely phase 3. But we're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. It's a little tough. We've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader. We don't. Well, nobody heard of the second Supreme Leader, the son. Nobody. We have not heard from the son. Every once in a while, you'll see a statement made, but we haven't. We don't know if he's living. But the people that seem to be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I know
We
you
don't know
because
I don't want him to be
he's
killed.
talking about.
Okay, I don't want him to be killed.
Mr. President, you deployed.
Nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants that job right now. You know, nobody's exactly looking forward to being the head of that particular country. But perhaps we'll be able to solve that problem.
Drone says he's postponing strikes on Iran, on Iranian energy infrastructure. But what about other places?
This morning, President Trump says the U.S. and Iran are negotiating, announcing he'll pause military strikes on Iranian power plants for 5 days after he'd set a deadline over the weekend demanding that Iran fully open the Strait of Hormuz by tonight or face its power plants being obliterated. Hours before Trump's post, overnight, Israel launched what the Israeli military called a wide-scale wave of strikes targeting Iranian terror regime infrastructure in Tehran. Israel's impatience may have come from this. Whoa! 2 Iranian missiles slipped through Israeli air defenses Saturday, exploding into
They
buildings.
ain't got no goddamn air
More than
defenses
100
anymore,
people.
bro.
The locations are significant and sensitive. Arad and Dimona. Both are near facilities linked to Israel's unacknowledged but widely known nuclear weapons program. Iran hit them after Israel and the United States targeted Natanz, an Iranian nuclear site. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Sunday's Meet the Press.
Just to put a fine point on this, though, is the president in the process of winding down this war or escalating the conflict?
Again, they're not mutually exclusive. Sometimes you have to escalate to de-escalate.
Iran was preparing to escalate as well, threatening before Trump's statement this morning that if power plants are attacked, Iran will, in a retaliatory action, target the power plants of the occupying regime and the power plants of regional countries. Trump, however, did not make any announcement about the several thousand U.S. troops making their way to the region to force open Hormuz and potentially occupy Iranian islands or coasts. Iran this morning says if American troops do that, it will mine the straits, saying the entire Persian Gulf will be practically blocked. there are still many questions that are unanswered. For one, the Iranian military is calling this something of a celebration. They say that this was typical capitulation by President Trump, so them claiming victory. But the Iranian Foreign Ministry, representing the government, is expressing somewhat confusion, saying they weren't involved in these talks. They don't know exactly what President Trump is talking about. So the military, in a way, celebrating victory, the government expressing not concern, but scratching its head somewhat. And there is this outstanding question about the American troops. Are they still coming to the region, or has that changed too?
All right, our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Ingleforth, there in Israel. Richard, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast.
I think it's crazy how this consumes like the whole news cycle, and like there's like I don't even know what else is happening around the world, you know? Like all I know is the war and a little bit of this ICE bullshit. All right. I think we're good for an hour.